Here's what I could promise you today. If my mother in a camp with typhoid could see all of you, and if all her sisters and brothers could see all of you sitting here tonight with kids, having made a life here in America, being successful, standing up for causes and standing up for their memory, they would never believe it. So please give yourself a hand. You are the success and the victor for all of them. Now, there's a lot of things I could tell you about HMTC. We have been around this is our 30th year. And there are Holocaust centers throughout the United States. And today, there's a tremendous question as to how effective those organizations have been in that time. But we have to start with how this all occurred. When these survivors made their life in America, they didn't want to talk about the Holocaust. They weren't trying to remember it. They simply wanted to start their life over. They wanted to live, because they wanted to live for all the people that didn't. And so they were fierce people. And those of you that are 3Gs and those of you that are 2Gs know exactly what I mean. They would fight for anything and through anything to protect and help their kids, because all they wanted them to do was to have the life that they never could. But as the years went on and their kids grew up, went to college, got married, and started to have their own kids, there were just some cracks in that foundation. And all of a sudden, these horrific and also wonderful stories that they wouldn't dare tell anyone, even their own children, just bled out again and again and again. And it's those stories that made our Holocaust Center. It's located with bricks in a place in Glen Cove that is thoroughly irrelevant. What is relevant is what they did, the stories they've told, some of which are here today. The survivors that you're introduced to today, they're more than just survivors. They relived their story that they lived firsthand over and over and over again, so that kids all over Long Island hear it and hopefully learn from it. Now, these first-generation survivors, after giving everything they had, they gave it to us, the 2Gs, some of which are around this room. And raise your hand, my 2Gs, because I know that you're here. And they passed on that one trait of, I've got to love my kids with everything I have, because they've got to live for those that do. And our experience is different. It is not like those that were firsthand. But we were never like the other kids in the class. We were never going to be. The trauma we lived through, that they lived through, and that we needed to learn and inherit, was never going to let us be like anyone else. And then we had the blessing of having our own kids, and I have my beautiful wife, my 3 daughters, my nephew and my niece here in the corner of the room. And, you know, we have this bond in our family that goes to cousins, first, second, third. It doesn't matter, because to us, family is everything. And people that didn't have that shared experience don't quite understand it. But you know, we told these stories. What did all this Holocaust experience do? It created this idea of being an upstander, saying, You know, it was the righteous among us. There was just those few that helped us out. Some of us were lucky, some with sheer force. But some with the acts of others, the heroism of others that weren't Jewish, they saved us. And we need to recognize that. And they were upstanders. But the entire thing happened because there were just not enough of them. And we teach there were 5% of the Germans that were hardcore Nazis who were going to hate us every day of their life. There were 5% of the folks that tried everything they could to save us. But it was the 90% that didn't do anything that caused it all. So let's teach people to stand up. And as an organization, that's what we've done for 30 years. But anti-Semitism was not always so prevalent. So when people went after immigrants, we stood up for immigrants. When people went after people for their sexual orientation, we stood up. When people went out from where their national origin was, we stood up and said, not on our watch, will not happen. Today, we just don't have the luxury for that really as much as we used to. Because today, we live in a world where anti-Semitism is everywhere, all around us. And it's an institution that's in schools teaching close to 35,000 students last year, and getting calls from many others who didn't ask for our help. It was everywhere. And so, what was an educational institute wants to be a more effective one. And more so, we need to be the point of the spear so that when people come for our kids, there is someone there to stand up. That's why you're here. We need you. We need you all to stand up. To stand for yourself, for your children, for your neighbors, and create the tolerant world that you and your kids deserve. So we need your help. We need you to get more involved. We have our event, November 19th, our tribute dinner. We want you to come and spend money there. But we need you to be the next generation of the center. We need you to show up, be part of our group, come to more of these, get to know each other, make those relationships, because it's these relationships and our connection to each other and our collective power that will stop the forces that are making this world intolerable to so many.